To be fair, I think this team ultimately maxed out. This is not a championship team. If we were, we'd be moving on.
We have some monster breaking news.
Chris Paul to the Golden State Warriors as they try to maximize this window.
CP, let's get it.
I mean, I'm excited. It ain't got no choice but to be a whole lot of fun.
Draymond Green is coming back.
Back with the brothers, back with the band.
The championship window is still open for the Warriors.
So we know the story. The Warriors fell in the second round of the playoffs to the Lakers and started to reshape their roster. The Dubs brought back Draymond Green and added Chris Paul to the mix while trading Jordan Poole and seeing Dante DiVincenzo head to New York in free agency. Welcoming in our Warriors reporter now, Kendra Andrews, to the show. And Kendra, the Warriors are working out 8-time All-Star and NBA champion Dwight Howard today. What more can you tell us about this?
Yeah, Cassidy, Dwight's expected to be there with the team today sometime in the afternoon. And while this has brought up a lot of conversation externally, I'm told that the Warriors are looking at this just as another workout, just another guy they're bringing in to get a look at, as they've been doing really for the past couple months. They also brought in Kent Bazemore, who used to be a member of the team, Juan Toscano Anderson, who was a member of that 2022 title-winning team. And with Dwight Howard, again, they want to look at a veteran. They want to look at a big man. But by bringing him into San Francisco this week, that doesn't mean he is a member of the team. This is just another part of the process as they work to fill out the remaining roster spots.
Okay, so you mentioned wanting to add a big man and filling out the rest of the roster. Who do you see them targeting with the season just 5 weeks away?
Yeah, well, like I said, they're bringing in a ton of guys with different skill sets, different veteran levels, experience levels. I'm told that what they're looking for at the end of the day, best player available, but also really, really important to them is someone who isn't going to be a distraction off the court. Cassidy, you named some of the guys that left this offseason, and there was a lot of drama around this team a year ago, and that definitely played a factor in their poor season. So heading into this upcoming year, the Warriors say everything in the locker room has to go smoothly. Right now, they feel like they have a good collection of guys. Yes, they have a lot of personalities, but they think that they can balance it. So with whoever they decide to give their last two-way spot to and their last 15-man roster spot to, it has to be someone who's going to gel with the guys already in Golden State.
Well, speaking of those personalities, our very own Young Masuk sat down with one of the biggest, Draymond Green, last week. And here's what he had to say about teaming up with their new point guard, CP3.
I want nothing more. And I'll be straight up about it. My goal this year is to help Chris Paul get his first championship. That's my goal. It's not to redeem anything about Draymond. My goal is that we can help Chris Paul get his first championship. That's my only goal. And I know that's his goal. I know that's our team goal. So that's what it's about.
All right, so Kendra, Draymond's goal is clear. Win one for Chris Paul this season. How do you see Chris fitting in with the four-time champs?
Yeah, well, of course, there is the big question, I think, that is really the biggest one to address, and is where is Chris Paul going to fit in, whether that's coming off of the bench, whether that is starting. The final answer for that is, of course, up in the air. But I was told that when Chris Paul first arrived to the Warriors facilities earlier this summer, everyone was just struck by how eager he was to get this done. As much as Draymond wants to win Chris Paul his first championship, Chris Paul wants to win that even more. I'm told that he was sending the message of, look, whatever you need me to do, I'm ready to do it. I knew what I was signing up for. I knew who I was joining when this deal went through, when I came out to San Francisco. People have roles here, and I'm trying to fit in so that we can get Chris Paul his first ring, and then also guys like Steph, guys like Clay, guys like Draymond, their fifth NBA championship.
You know, for me, I see two things being really important to making this work. And I think it has to start, number one, with respect. I think it's not realistic to want or even want to see these guys fake defer to one another. Or, of course, at the beginning of the season, everybody's super eager. I think there has to be respect, because what makes them great, what makes Chris Paul great, is he's uber competitive. What makes Draymond Green great is that he is a fiery leader. So they've got to be themselves. And what makes that work is if they both respect one another, if everybody respects each other in the locker room. Draymond said that himself. And then I think the other thing that's going to be important, and this might sound cliche, but winning is going to be important. You know, winning goes a long way, and it makes it easier to buy in. You're on the other side of that. All of a sudden, you put together a couple of long losing streaks, and now it's starting to get awkward in that locker room. And think about Chris. This is way different than when he came into play with the Phoenix Suns. They were looking at him to help build culture and mentor young players. He comes into the Warriors, the culture's established, the legacy's established, and these stars know exactly who they are. In fact, interestingly, these stars became who they are by beating Chris, by going through Chris. He's an integral part of their trajectory to superstardom for those stars on the Warriors. So it's a very interesting dynamic.
Well, Mark, you spent some time with Chris a few months ago after he was traded. What are his expectations this season?
Yeah, I saw him as he was celebrating his book. And, you know, this isn't like Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets and trying to be a savior for Chris. This is a 38-year-old who's in an odd situation for the first time in his career. He is the one that has to fit in. What other NBA player do you know that's had this kind of situation before? So it's definitely going to be weird going in there and trying to, you know, when you're a vet like this, to exude your presence. But what Draymond said, I know that had to be music to Chris's ears, man, because you wonder, you know that Steph is going to embrace him. You know that Clay is going to embrace him. But Draymond's the big voice in the locker room, and the fact that he's got big arms for him, bringing him in, wants him to get that elusive championship, I'm sure that makes it a lot easier for Chris just trying to fit in, and that's what he's going to have to do. For the first time in his career, he's going to have to be one of the guys instead of the guy. So I do sense there's some good nervousness.
Which sophomore do you think is going to have the most to prove this year?
You know, I'm going to go with Ben Mathurin. I talked to him last season. Before the season, obviously, he wanted to be a Rookie of the Year. It didn't happen, but still had a sensational season. He averaged 16.7 points per game. You know, the Canadian averaged 17 before the All-Star break, but dropped to 14.9 after. He did have a dominating April where he averaged close to 20. And he's been working on his all-around game, ball handling, shooting. And he's been working out with Klay Thompson, which is pretty interesting as well. The Pacers expect to surprise you all and give some problems to the Eastern Conference. And if they're going to do that, you know, Tyrese can't be the only guy. Ben Mathurin has to pick it up for him, too.
Look, I need to make a trip back home to the Toyota Center because we finally convinced Richard. My answer is Jabari Smith Jr., for those wondering, because I feel like finally, similar to the Orlando Magic, the Houston Rockets, like, we finally feel like we can push. We can make a change.
Wait.
Jabari Smith Jr., I talked to him at the end of last season, and he was like, hey, like, the city is ready for good basketball, and I feel like we have the young pieces to make that happen. He had 16 double-doubles last year. They brought in Fred VanVleet. They brought in Dylan Brooks. They have Coach Ime Udoka. So it feels like for him, he's one of those unique, you know, the quintessential NBA type of players that are able to take those next steps. So I'm going back to my H-Town roots, but everyone knows that's like not a surprise here on NBA Today, so.
Well, Shanae, honestly, save me a seat on that flight next to you out to Houston because I'm right there with you. Jabari Smith Jr. is my pick. He had not a great season last year, and they were in this rebuilding process. They didn't have many veterans to help lead this team. Now, as you mentioned, they bring in Fred VanVleet. They're putting the pieces together, and I think that that's going to set him up to do really well and play as a number 3 pick should be playing in his second year in the league.
Yay, Kendi, woohoo!
I mean, I'm really interested to see how Ime Udoka changes that whole team and that culture there. But guys, it's not just the sophomore players that will be under the microscope this upcoming season, second-year coaches as well. Did you guys see this? Joe Mazzulla being arguably the biggest name, and he attended former Celtics guard Marcus Smart's wedding over the weekend. And check out this photo. You know, this is like a photo booth they do in weddings.
Yes.
I mean, we're going to gloss over the fact that, like, Brad Stevens, you know, traded Marcus Smart is at the wedding. I'm sure there were no awkward conversations there, but Joe Mazzulla was ready for his close-up.
And
here.
You can tell by the smiles, they were having a time. They were having a time.
I love it.
Yeah.
Right? Wedding season is still full of fight.
Some libations involved, right? Looked like they had something to drink, too.
Libation.
Always.
I am excited to see what the Celtics do, but there is a lot of pressure on Joe Mazzulla for sure in Boston. Some news out of Cleveland. Cavaliers president of basketball operations, Kobe Altman, was arrested Friday night and charged with operating a vehicle while impaired. Ohio State Highway Patrol troopers stopped Altman just before 9 p.m. in Cleveland, where he was placed under arrest for OVI and soon after refused a breathalyzer test. The Cavaliers said in a statement Saturday, "We are aware of an incident involving Cavaliers president of basketball operations Kobe Altman. We're currently gathering more information and have no further comment at this time."